There we go. Okay, so welcome everybody to the working group Upstream Diversity Week 6, I think. So there are no announcements. Then I see that Candace has the first agenda item. So yeah, there's the diversity, inclusion, and belonging speaker series at the same time. So Candace met with me at the end of last week to discuss opportunities to move this project forward, provided links to 2 pages. I worked with recruiting and sales for DIP initiatives to build it out. We would move forward by creating a page for engineering as a work in progress, and all the updates from partnerships to move forward with publishing. We could break them out in audience, STEM, college students, HBCUs, URGs, etc. Okay, all right. So I wanted to, let me clarify a bit. So I spoke to Candace. I said, okay, how can we make sure that this goes like as fast as possible with reaching out to vendors? She said, well, there's actually a lot of engineering initiatives going around. So maybe with this initiative, to make sure we don't duplicate work, we can open up a handbook page, as well as that she will continue to reach out to vendors and see what is fitting with the purpose and goal of this group. So there's the 2 examples. Then this aligns with the agenda item I have next is about the timeline and planning. So I put creating a handbook page to all the diversity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives to the planning. So it's added in there. So I think that would cover for Candace her points. Maybe then for the second point, we can take a look at the planning. It's pretty ambitious because we need to reach out to a lot of vendors. I think this week we managed to reach out to 5 vendors. So next week we would have to reach out to in total like 10 vendors. The week after to 15 vendors, to make sure that we are getting in contact with as many vendors as possible so we can make the most informed decision by October 9th, I think I put it there. So please take a look to review it. And if you have any questions or things, please add a comment in the issue or in the epic, if that's possible. Can you comment on epic? I think so. Feedback to the epic. Are there any questions on the timeline, comments? I know it went pretty fast. Sorry. Okay, then the third item, I wanted to add or get an overview of.
Do we have a master list, a list of vendors that we're reaching out to already?
Yes, I've merged the initial list we had to the hardware criteria as well as to the other. Let me quickly pull it up. I have it here.
Partners and vendor list. I see it. It's linked at the bottom.
Yes.
Right.
I still don't see it. Where?
I'm here. Wait.
Is it 8831? Is that what we're talking about?
Oh no, I have a.
I think it's. I was looking at 8831.
I went to a Google Sheets.
Yeah, I think a Google Sheet is going to be much more effective than an Epic. They're so fragmented. So
the Google Sheet link is at agenda point 3.
Yeah, so let me put this. I'm going to put a bulleted list of resources at the top of the doc, and we'll put this right here just so it's handy and it's always at the top of the agenda.
I'm going to reach out to a couple this week, but I want to make sure I'm reaching out to ones that haven't already been contacted.
This is why CRM systems exist, right? Like Salesforce.com, their whole business is based on making sure 2 salespeople don't call the same prospect, right? Surprisingly common problem.
Yeah.
Cool. So I put potential partner list and a bulleted list at the top of this doc, so you can always find it there. And if there's others, we'll put them there as well. So this should be like our I was about to say master list, but master is going on our top misused terms list. So this should be our main list or our single source of truth. Maybe that's the phrase we should use. Single source.
Awesome. Good, thanks. So yeah, this would be my third agenda point where I wanted to see like, okay, who did we reach out to, and which other initiatives should we reach out to in the coming week. So maybe Melissa, you can speak to Latinitas that you've had the contact with or a call with. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Mo put some notes and an issue, so I'll add that to the agenda. But we talked to them last Friday, and they actually gave us some good ideas about I think things that we could do that are, I'll call them reusable across different groups. So one of the things that was really an interesting idea was just doing recorded videos of kind of like bio and professional profiles for just to share with, especially with young people, right? Like if we're talking to girls, boys, like from underrepresented group, just doing like a profile about what you do, who you are, how you got to your job, right? Like things like that are really helpful, and I think low cost, right? Somebody just records like a 5-minute video, and we can just distribute that as needed, and they can use it as needed too. We just put them on YouTube. So I thought that was interesting. We basically thought about during the call, right? Just to take a step back, we talked about different ways that GitLab could help them, and just kind of brainstormed on what that would look like. So that was one thing. The other thing was just having virtual lunch. They have basically camps, right, where they have after school kind of like coding lessons they partner with different schools in the Austin area. So just having somebody from GitLab participate kind of like as and their coding lessons are I'll call it like introductory, right? So just somebody to answer questions to pair with some of the camp participants, right? Maybe they also have weekend activities, so somebody to go in and just have lunch and I've done that before. You're just a mentor. They have this thing called they call it Startup Chica, so it's actually pretty fun. The girls come up with a startup idea, and then they're supposed at the end of it they do like a pitch. So they have people who are their mentors, and you just like help them think through stuff. They practice their pitch with you, and it's pretty easy. So just we can organize a group of people, like just socialize that within GitLab and organize a group of people if they want to go help. So it's
Awesome.
pretty. Yeah, the other things that were more, I'll call them like longer term strategic, right? There's a couple things that they mentioned. One is that they're thinking of forming what they're calling steering committees, right? With people from the industry to help them sort of guide where they're going as an organization, right? So they're thinking about, okay, what kind of activities should we be sponsoring? What should our technical curriculum look like, right? What are new technologies that they should be aware of that their participants should be kind of learning and should be on the horizon. Now with COVID, they're having to think about things like how do they give access to hardware and email accounts and all that kind of stuff, all the logistics behind that for their participants, right? So they basically are looking for, I'll kind of put a little bit of words in their mouth, like industry experts, right, to help them figure this stuff out, because they're not necessarily, technology experts, right, in their nonprofit.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
on that same note, a lot of their staff members aren't formally trained in development, right? But they're guiding camps, helping the girls learn how to code. So another area of opportunity that we talked about is just us training their staff on some of the things that they're teaching, and maybe having recorded videos and like sheets, right, that we can hand over to them so that when they onboard someone new, right, they can watch these YouTube videos and go through these exercises that we put together for them. So then now they're trained to basically guide a camp for them.
Exactly. Cool. Nice. And I wonder, okay, in terms of next action, if you would want to collaborate with them, like did you promise to get back at them, or what was the next action?
Yeah, so the next action was to talk to they have somebody who's sort of like I forget what his official title, but he's in marketing for them, and he's like the corporate relations person. So we're
His name is TC, right? That's your
yeah,
name?
his name is TC. So we're gonna talk to him, and he basically manages. They work with a bunch of different companies in the area, and he manages the relationships. And we're gonna talk to him.
Awesome.
There's two
Good.
more things I want to add on top of that, Melissa, if it's okay. There was the
Yeah, go
discussion
ahead.
around stipend and teaching the teachers, which I thought was also interesting. So one thing I hadn't really thought about is like one of the things they do for their students is they offer them a stipend to come attend and continue to participate as well. Another thing that came up in discussion was the possibility of us actually teaching the teachers so that we can support the teachers who are already shaping the young kids' futures, but assisting them with helping them grow to the next level so that they can teach properly or more effectively, not properly.
Yeah, the stipend bit is really interesting. I thank you for bringing that up. They basically have a after school camp, and this is geared to high school age students. So it's after school, and basically, I don't remember how long it is, but once they complete the camp, they basically give them basically like at the end of it, they give them a stipend. um, which is really interesting because it basically like it's motivation to finish the camp, right? And the other thing that Laura had shared with me in the past is that for these kids specifically, they're competing with an after-school job, basically, right? So that giving them a stipend kind of allows them to make the time to go, which I thought was a really creative approach.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, and when will you talk to TC, or I don't know, I don't know what his full name is.
I don't know either. I actually have to set up a time with him, so I'll do that after the call, and I'll include you, Mo.
All
It would
right,
be a
cool.
30-minute. I'll record that one. That one they go through the basically like who is Latinitas and like all of that kind of stuff. So I'll record. I apologize, I didn't record this past one, but I'll record the one that's coming up.
Awesome. That's cool. Thanks. Thanks for sharing this. So, so you will speak. I think it's good to further update the issue then on the outcome of Latinitas. It sounds like a great partner for coaches, right? To a place where we can link coaches to. Maybe if we have the coaches, we can say, okay, this is the list of partners we have, and you can reach out to and collaborate with, or we can do the matching, whatever makes sense. Cool. All right. Then on Free Code Camp, Eric.
Yeah, so as a reminder, last week there were a bunch of questions and conversations around, hey, if I'm reaching out to these potential partners or vendors, how do I do that? How do I have those conversations? So we discussed a script, and then I said I'll volunteer to do one, and anyone's welcome to shadow. Mo did, and Christy was there as well, my EA, and then we recorded the call. So we'll dig up the recording and link it here and in the Slack channel. And so anybody that's having those conversations and uncomfortable or unaware about how to do it effectively is welcome to watch that. It sounds like Melissa had a very productive conversation as well. So by all means, use her as a resource as well. I learned a ton. So I actually wouldn't mind doing more of these to help us hit our target. It was kind of exactly what I hoped, which is we go in there with a plan, we're open to it changing. They tell us what we do, and then we learn a bunch of stuff. And I can already see that, I'm not saying we're definitely going to choose free code camp, but we learned enough to say like, yeah, I could definitely see pivoting a little bit and doing something that wasn't on our kind of initial list. So their curriculum is self-guided. So they don't have teachers and classes. They make a ton of resources available to people, and they can go through it at their own pace. And I think they said if someone did the whole thing, it would probably take them a year. So it's a pretty healthy amount of education. I don't think you have to do the whole thing, but that's the total summation of all the materials that they have. And yes, whereas it would be more asynchronous. And so the way they work is they've got a community, and when someone gets stuck and they need to learn, they go to the community, the forum, and they start asking questions, and they get answers from Free Code Camp employees, the nonprofit, from peers who are going through the same curriculum. And then there's people like we could be that are just kind of volunteering our time to answer programming questions. And so they would be more async. And I'm like, great, we're a very async company. That's probably a big leap for a lot of companies. We're there, you know, that's an easy one for us. And it's also a lower bar, like for our volunteers, like the idea of taking time out of work and family and teaching a whole course, especially if you've never been a teacher before, that's a pretty high bar. This is a much lower bar of like, hey, just hang out in this forum and answer questions to people. You know what I mean? That felt very approachable and easy, or a good way to get started. So I like that aspect. And then let's see. Kind of similar to what Melissa hinted at. He said, but far and away, the biggest factor about someone's success or failure is like the motivation they have to complete it. And he talked a lot about extrinsic motivation, meaning, you know, these people have a lot of challenges, they're busy, they might have a job, they might have school or something like that. So we should think about ways that we could help provide, you know, extrinsic motivation for people. And I think that applies. I think that's a good learning for any program. But as people in this position, it's tough. And then we said, hey, you know, a secondary goal of this working group, and it's secondary because we know it's probably a really hard problem, is like helping people, let's say in sub-Saharan Africa, that don't even have an internet connection or a device to learn on. And he said, yeah, you know, what you should really do is open up your own hackerspace over there. I'm like, well, that sounds like a big deal, but like pouring concrete, like maybe we'll get there eventually. But maybe we could just partner with an existing one. So there might be a hackerspace that's already got connections in the community and has kids coming over using their stuff. Maybe they've only got 5 computers and we could raise that to 15, you know? And he offered to do some intros and we could maybe form some relationships over there, because having someone on the ground who's trustworthy, that already has the space, the internet connection, and a way to give devices to people is a huge head start. So that honestly made me feel like we could potentially take this like really hard problem, a nice to have for the working group. And actually I'm like, well, this is much more approachable than I maybe had thought, but it does hinge upon like a good relationship with a trusted partner over there. Otherwise, realistically, this equipment's going to disappear, and it's and that sort of thing does unfortunately happen. But that made me feel really good about it. And like I said, he's gonna I'm gonna reach out to him, and he's gonna send over some intros. So we may add some columns to our spreadsheet around like infrastructure capabilities or something like that. Or maybe it's to the extent we actually start talking to multiple hacker spaces, that could become a separate tab in the spreadsheet of all the hacker spaces we're talking to about this secondary, this alternate program to the sort of teaching thing.
May I add?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rose.
I've split up the vendors list in hardware and software. So for the hardware, we might want to list those hacker spaces, right? We already have some things in there, so that might be good. And it's a separate exit criteria. So it will be awesome if he does the intros and we can add it in there.
Okay, cool. Mo, you were on the call. Do you have anything you wanted to add or?
Yeah, I wanted to highlight it when you just mentioned like the importance of the hackerspace clicked in for me when he talked about assisting people by giving people computers versus creating hackerspaces where you can have shared computers, like a library was the example he provided. That way those resources, the hardware resources, can be utilized by multiple people. So rather than just individuals who may be using it for a portion of the time. And to me, that clicked because you can maximize the cost for the usage of a hardware, but also maximize the number of people that can use it. So he suggested with the hackerspace having like somebody on staff there to really just host a lab of computers, so people can come and do code camp and continuously grow. So I think that's the why hackerspaces are important. I just wanted
you're thinking like a computer scientist, like tighter packing in terms of time, right?
Yes, sorry.
That's an important part of it. The other thing he mentioned is that if you give someone a laptop, one, like Mo said, they're the only ones that can use that laptop. They're also trying to code from home where they might have a lot of distractions. For all we know, there could be drug problems in the home or the second job thing or like anything going on. The other nice thing about the hackerspace is you're going to a separate physical context and you're surrounded by peers that are ostensibly doing the same thing. And so you get a little bit of that extrinsic motivation, kind of like people answering questions in your forum. They have some people answering questions in person, which is even a tighter sort of social connection. So you get some of that. Maybe they're working on collaborative projects. Maybe there's a little bit of constructive peer pressure, all those other elements as well. So if we can find a good one, I think it would be a really good, a really high potential thing to try.
Community is a theme that was sort of common to both Latinitas as well as the hackerspace. And I love that, the idea of belonging to a community to keep you coming back and engaged in learning.
Yeah, my wife is a psychology researcher, and they're studying a community of Latinas and Latinas down in Salinas and California, which is a low SES area, and they're finding, because those communities are they emphasize community so much, it's actually highly protective over against like drug use and worse health outcomes and things like that, because you do have that, like, you're accountable to your family, you're accountable to this small network of people. So it does seem effective. Awesome.
That's so cool. All right, so on point C, I've looked into some more European or EMEA focused hardware initiatives, like to donate laptops or any other hardware, which they have charities and they learn about, like coding or etc. This is more, so you can donate hardware there. I was thinking, as a proposal, we have a laptop replacement policy after 3 years, and I thought, okay, maybe we could set up, instead of getting credit for a new Mac, we could also add an option like, okay, donate your hardware in general to a local charity, and also now based on hearing the hackerspace thing, I think that's great. I will reach out. I will try to find hackerspaces in EMEA APAC region. I will try to reach out to at least like 5 maybe over the next week to see if we could make this sort of a global coverage thing.
Should we, for the hackerspace thing, should we be very deliberately targeting like low socioeconomic status countries and stuff like Africa, Indonesia, things like that? Because I'm sure we could find one in Berlin, but I think we could potentially target, like, come up with a way. Maybe it's our own location factor or something. I don't know exactly what how we would measure that, but
yeah, we could say anything location factor under 0.5.
I mean, there's locations in the US that are under 0.5, so I don't know if location factor
are there. Oh, I thought there were.
I think so.
I thought the lowest location factor would be a 0.4 or something. I don't know. Sure.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think everything in the US is above a 0.6.
Oh, it is. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly what, ideally we should use some kind of a metric so it's impartial, but
yeah.
I'd love to make sure we're targeting places where, like, we're kind of going underneath, like the people that might be targeted for the education program go for people that can't even get in touch with an education program in some way.
Yeah, and that was on the charities I reached out to. 2 of those projects are indeed focused on Africa or on lower location factors or lower socioeconomic areas. Okay, so I can think of a target. Think of a target for reaching out. And even like very, maybe there's very poor neighborhoods in some areas in Europe as well, right? Like, I want to say very poor areas, maybe in suburban areas, but I'm not sure. Cool. And then point 4, I want to be, in the interest of time, let me see, Craig is not on the call. I'll be updating the issue. Okay, so we'll keep a look out of that. And then Mo, you had point 5.
I think point 5 has really been discussed. It was a recap of point 3, where we talked about Latinitas and free code camps. I don't have any additional items to add there.
Awesome. Okay, so then I think my main question would be, okay, which vendors are we going to reach out to this week, right? I'm going to find the hackerspaces in lower socioeconomic areas. Other vendors can we reach out to? I think based on the list, if I'm looking at the list right now, so the first from 2 to 10, or from 2 to 8, sorry, Latinitas is also in there. So from 2 to 8 or 9, that's where Candace is already in contact with. But I think, so Odin projects, Katakoda, Bento, etc. are similar to Free Code Camp. So maybe we could try to reach out to 3 of these as well, because they're pretty similar. I'm not sure, maybe Mo, can you, you had a email lined up. Is it possible that you reach out to them?
Yes, I can reach out. I'd also, if it's okay, I'd like to reach out to Quincy again, because he did have some contacts that he mentioned in Kenya and Nairobi, because there's quite a few people on the free code. So I'd like to be able to capture those contacts and see if I could just get a conversation started with them, if that's okay. And then I'd be happy to reach out to, sorry, what was the next vendor group?
I would say, so Odin Projects.
Odin Project, okay.
And then we have Odin, Katoa, what is it? Odin, Katakoda, wow, sorry, I can't pronounce that, and Bento.
I can commit to Odin Project, and then I'll do a stretch goal of, what is it, Katakoda? I really want to take advantage of the contacts we can get from Quincy, because he seemed to, so I really want to get that conversation started. So I'll commit to Odin. I'm going to reach out to Quincy to get those contacts, and then a stretch goal will be Katakoda if time permits.
Perfect. And if they want to set up a call, you don't have to do those calls, but I think the initial contact would be great. And if we need somebody else to do the call, I'm happy also to do the call, or maybe Melissa has some experience.
So you're just looking for the leader emails to get them in?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I can handle that. Yeah, I'll just blast them out at the same time.
Perfect.
So Odin, Katakoda, and I'm sorry, the third one was?
I think it was Bento.
Bento. Okay.
Bento. Okay, good.
I can take some emailing too if there's some other people.
Yeah, I think we can just work our way down on the list, right? That would be the more we do now, the more time we have to sort of determine who takes some of the list. Maybe we should do maybe we should make a row in initial owner, on the left.
Was that a column for it?
Here is it or not?
No, with that a column.
Yeah. Oh, column. Not a row.
CRM.
I'm sorry. Contact.
Would a lightweight CRM help here? I feel like we might be doing some...
Okay, good. Let me see. I think that was it. Anything else before?
Just because I'm confused about the spreadsheet, there's sort of 2 sections. One is curriculum, one is group vendor. What's the difference between those 2?
Yeah, so curriculum vendors, I thought that for free code camp, prior to this meeting, it's more about that they offer coaches, but which they offer code courses online. Well, the first one is really where they need coaches or teachers or lecturers or anything else. That is their core sort of products.
Okay. Could we make that a column and have the type in the column? Because then we can sort the spreadsheet, and as we end up saying this one's not good, we can mark them as done and sort them at the bottom.
Yeah, we can do that for sure. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna make it right. Okay. Type. Yeah. Good. All right.
And
I think that's
sorry, quick question. The ones on top, we already reached out to all of them?
Yes, I wanna I discussed with Candace that we reached out to them. So she said she has contact there, so I wouldn't want to go and duplicate her work. So I'll just yes, if we do like this, then it should be that.
So we'll go down this list then. Mo, I think you're taking free code camp down to Katakoda, is it?
Yes, Odin, Katakoda, Bento, free code camp.
Okay.
Am I being too greedy?
No, I think it's great. And since you've already got the emails templated, could you send those to Melissa and I as well? And then we'll communicate and reach out to some additional ones as well.
Yes, so Mo to send email to Edmund and Melissa.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right, thanks everybody. We're at time, and we can further work async find the channel. So thanks everybody for this meeting, and have a great rest of your week.